Thanks for staying with us. Let's bring you some more updates from the city. Now, Chennai is one of India's modern cities, but a walk down some of its roads, even those in upmarket areas, is surprisingly different from that reputation. Our reporter Pratiksha Ramkumar brings us this story after a stroll in Alwarpet, the city's residential and business point.
Quite an eyesore at a posh colony, making residents think twice about taking their car out of their compound or even taking their kids for a walk. We are on the Prithvi Avenue in Alwarpet, one of the most posh localities in the city. But these residents unfortunately now have to face traffic problems right on their doorsteps, mainly because of these two huge trenches dug up by the Chennai Corporation nearly 9 months ago. These trenches, dug along roads in Mylapore and Alwarpet in July last year to build stormwater drains, saw more mosquitoes breeding than rainwater harvesting during the monsoon. The Chennai Corporation had then told NDTV Hindu that construction would be completed in 4 months.
Prithvi Avenue, Bava Street இதெல்லாம் வந்து storm drain constructionக்காக நோண்டி இருக்கிறோம். இப்போ மற்ற இடத்துல இந்த லெஸ் ரோடு தேசிகா ஸ்ட்ரீட்டு இன் அண்ட் அரௌண்ட் தட் ஸ்ட்ரீட்ஸ் எல்லாம் வந்து டிஎன்இபி கேபிள் லேயிங்காக பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. இந்த ஸ்ட்ராம் ட்ரெயினுக்காக தோணும் மட்டும் ஒரு 3 monthsல we are proposed to complete that work.
9 months later, the trenches are still there, abandoned, and the edges caving in. The residents are helpless.
This corner is, of course, a complete disaster. We getting out of our house and getting to the end of that road, sometimes we have to allow for something like 10 to 15 minutes. Otherwise, you're late for your appointment. It's as simple as that. It's been terrible. It's really been terrible.
And recently, it's been about the stormwater drain work. I mean, with all this road being dug up, we've had, every time we lodge a complaint, we see a flurry of activity, then everything is back to nothing. There's no movement at all. I mean, we constantly see traffic coming, and so as a result, what has happened is we constantly have traffic jams.
But it looks like nothing's going to change for at least 2 years.
சென்னையில் 300க்கும் மேற்பட்ட கிலோமீட்டர் நீளத்திற்கான புதிய மழைநீர் வடிகால் வாய்களையும் கட்டும் பணிகள் 12 ரீச்சுகளாக இன்றைக்கு டெண்டர் விடப்பட்டு பணிகள் நடைபெற்றுக் கொண்டிருக்கிறது. சென்னையின் பல்வேறு இடங்களில் அந்த கால்வாய்களை ஆழப்படுத்தி அகலப்படுத்தி காங்கிரீட் பெட் அமைத்து 2 பக்கமும் 8 அடி உயரத்திற்கு காங்கிரீட் சுவர் அமைக்கிற அந்த பணிகளும் இந்த மழைநீர் வடிகால் வாய்கள் கட்டுகிற பணிகள் நடைபெற்றுக் கொண்டிருக்கிறது. எல்லா பணிகளும் சென்னையை பொறுத்தவரை இன்னும் 2.5 ஆண்டு காலத்திற்குள் அந்த பணிகள் எல்லாம் நிறைவேறும்.
Well, that brings a ray of hope, but it will be a long wait. In Chennai, with Sam Daniel, Pratiksha Ramkumar for NDTV Hindu.
Now moving on, there was quite a buzz outside the Anna University today, and no, it was not because of the college culturals that are going on. Almost 350 students from the SMK Formra Institute of Technology stood outside the entrance for more than 6 hours, hoping to have their grievances on their recent marking in exams heard. After an unsuccessful meeting with the Vice-Chancellor, 10 students have now decided to meet the Higher Education Minister at the beginning of next week. In fact, last evening, 700 angry students of the institute had locked up their professors in a classroom as an entire batch of students were failed in response to their protests in the Anitra suicide case. On to some national news. Now, Jammu and Kashmir's Chief Minister has hit out at the army for the death of a civilian in an army ambush operation. There have been protests in Handwara in the Kashmir Valley after 21-year-old Mansoor was killed during an army operation last night. Umar Abdullah has called it another needless death in bloody Kashmir and says it could have been prevented if his suggestions to the army were taken seriously. Police say the army opened fire when they noticed a suspicious movement during the night ambush. Meanwhile, the army has apologized for the incident, saying they were following rules, but that has obviously not helped calm nerves in Handwara.
We, though following the rules of engagement laid down for such incidents, deeply regret the loss of life. More so, because the army has declared this year as the year of the Kashmiri Awam. We also, as the army, send our deep and heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family on this incident.
Moving to news from the northeast, ULFA, still number 1 in the Government of India's list of banned organizations, held a press conference today, a sign of the changing situation in the region. They will now hold formal talks with the government, which is expected to begin on the 10th of this month. It will be unconditional, and the agenda for the talks will be decided by the General Council of the outfit. They have emphasized that their elusive commander-in-chief, who actually calls the shots and is at large, will continue to be the commander unless he rejects the General Council's decision.
অসম ভূখণ্ডৰ আৰ্থসামাজিক ৰাজনৈতিক তথা ঐতিহাসিক কাৰক নিহিত হৈ থকা গুৰুতৰ সমস্যা আৰু অমীমাংসিত প্ৰশ্নক আধাৰ কৰি সাৰ্বভৌম স্বাধীন অসম প্ৰতিষ্ঠাৰ বাবে ৰক্তাক্ত সশস্ত্ৰ সংগ্ৰামৰ পথ অনুসৰণ.
In other news, Finance Minister Pranab Mukherjee today said that the government has served notices to 17 persons related to the Swiss bank black money trail, but it is not possible to reveal their names as the government is bound by treaty clauses.
Of the 18 names we got, we have already started prosecution. Notices have been issued in case of 17 persons. One person is dead, so no prosecution could be given. And I told in my earlier press conference, as and when there will be prosecutions and the matter will come to the open court, then the names will be disclosed.
Now, the Tourism Minister of Rajasthan turned out to be a good Samaritan in her state. Beena Kak's timely intervention has saved a wounded tigress and her 2 cubs at the Ranthambore National Park. Harsha Kumari Singh has the story.
I was taking pictures of this tigress, and suddenly, when I zoomed in, I saw a little redness on her rectum. I showed these pictures to the local vet, and he immediately, when he saw the arch-type position of the posture of the tigress, her squatting, and also little blood coming out of this wound, he immediately said it is maggots.
The tigress T5 had recently delivered her second litter, but the pain from the maggots was also keeping her away from her cubs. After her wound was surgically treated, the tigress is now on the road to recovery and is also feeding her cubs.
We have not only saved one tigress, but also the 2 cubs who would have died without the mother. So all 3 of them are happy. She's feeding the cubs. They are all moving together.
Wildlife lovers now want to name one of the cubs Beena as a tribute to the minister's timely intervention. Had she not stepped in, the tigress would have been dead in 3 days. But she saved not just 1, but 3 highly endangered big cats. In Jaipur, Harsha Kumari Singh, NDTV.
Well, quite a happy ending there. Before we move on with more news, a quick look at the gold and silver rates. Still ahead on the bulletin, from rock, paper, scissors to listen, show and tell, learning can be fun even if it is a language.